Just give me the copper.
Oh my God.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. You guys, the excitement for this video is so effing real and just like I can't contain it anymore. You already saw the title. Let's make some effing electroformed jewelry. If you don't know what electroforming is, where have you literally been? It says electroforming is an electrochemical deposit of metal, in this case copper, onto an object. So, reason I've never done this before is because I have been very intimidated by it, like top tier intimidation, to do this, because there's so many different pieces and you need so many different jars of stuff, different cups and doodads and more jars of stuff, electricity. But then I found this kit that has, like, it's a whole electroforming starter kit. So you get like all the stuff basically, besides the power supply. Did buy that on Amazon. So I found this whole kit from an Etsy shop called Enchanted Leaves. Let me just take a moment to talk about something that really like warms my soul, my dark, creepy soul. So I messaged the seller of this kit that I got, and they were just so helpful. I just asked them some questions to understand, and they were so open and helpful. Helped me find the power supply thing that I should get, like, so helpful. So you can make like whatever you want with this, obviously, but I think we're gonna make some electroform jewelry in this video. So I'm gonna switch up the angle. We're gonna show you guys what we got, and then we're gonna get started. All right, so not gonna lie, we just spent, what was that, like an hour? Let's say it was an hour, that's more dramatic.
Yes, it was at least.
The first thing that we're gonna do is, I have this rock, and it is fluorite. So we are going to take this and we're going to put an anchor on it, a raw solid brass jump ring, and I'm just gonna attach it with glue. We're going to glue these together. Ready? 1, 2, boom. Okay, so this is what it's looking like. The glue isn't completely dried yet. I'm gonna let it dry overnight because that's honestly what it suggests. Or before we go, I have this. You guys really thought I wasn't gonna do some kind of dried flower for this? I'm gonna connect a little jump ring to the very bottom of this rosebud. I am going to open up this jump ring. Here we have the stem, and I'm just going to take these really sharp tweezers and stab a hole through it. Probably going to stab my finger in the process, but it's all going to be in the name of art. Ow! Alright, so this hole, I'm just going to try to loop this through without breaking anything. Look at that! Holy crap, that worked. Okay, so we have our 2 pieces that we're going to be turning into electroform jewelry. I'm gonna die when this freaking rosebud is a necklace. We're gonna let these 2 dry, the glue on them. We're gonna let them dry for probably overnight, and we'll be back tomorrow to paint on some more stuff onto these things. We might be back in a few hours once this glue is a little more dry to paint some liquid latex, but for now, we gonna let that go. Glue dry. I can't talk!
We're gonna let that go.
And then later that day, we came back and did a layer of liquid latex on the butt of the gemstone to protect it. I really tried to get a good, generous, thick coat over the whole thing and really get those corners, although copper on just like the edges would have been really cool. Alright, so it is the next day, and we have our gemstone that has, what does it have now? It's got dried glue with the jump ring attached, and then also a layer of liquid latex that has also dried overnight, and the liquid latex is going to protect the section of the stone that we want to be seen. We don't want that part to be covered by the copper, so the top part is going to be the part that's covered in copper and gets like electroformed, and then the liquid latex part, which is going to be obviously the bottom, is going to be able to, like, we're going to be able to peel the liquid latex off, and the liquid latex kind of protects that part from the electroformed situation that's going to happen. So we have our rosebud. We're going to be dipping this into our sealant. What I'm going to do for this one is paint it on the very top part where the gemstone is still exposed and where I want the copper electroformed situation to do its thing. So this is the sealant that we're going to be using. Anyway, so we're gonna paint the sealant on and just kind of go from there. Just give me the copper. Alright, so first round of sealant. So you might be wondering, why are you sealing a rock? Because it says to, honestly. So I think it says that anything under 7 on the Mohs scale of hardness has to be sealed. And I think Sean figured out that this stone was at a 4. So we did end up sealing it, and this is the very first coat. And so I'm just painting that on with one of the paintbrushes that came in the kit. And then for the flower, we're just dipping it in, and it's just, honestly, it's really satisfying. So we just dipped it in, didn't have to paint anything on, and it got a nice, even, perfect coat of sealant. After I dipped it, I would just kind of dangle it over the jar a little bit to let it drip in there, and then I would take my paintbrush and kind of just hang it inside the cup so that all of the drips will just go into this cup. It did say that we had to let these dry between 6 to 24 hours. Like, you're supposed to let it completely dry before you do another coat. So we did let these dry overnight. It is the next day, and now we are doing the second coat of sealant. We're going to speed right through this because you've already seen it. So I got another coat in the same exact area on the gemstone. By the way, I am painting the sealant over the glue and everything on the jump ring. So now I'm just dipping the flower in the sealant as well, getting a second coat on that, and then we're going to dangle them in their cups, and they're going to dry overnight. It is another new day, and this is the graphite conductive paint. Before we start painting this on, I do kind of have to mix it up because it does get chunky on the bottom. So once that's mixed up, I am painting the first layer on the gemstones. So this conductive paint is kind of where the copper is going to build up. Like, wherever I paint this on the gemstone and on the flower is where the copper is going to build up. So I'm painting a layer of this over the whole top of the gemstone where I want the copper to be. And I'm also painting over the glue and a little bit of the jump ring. And then for the flower, we are doing the old dip method, which is so satisfying. Just like the sealant, I'm going to dip it in. I include the stem and a little bit of the jump ring as well. And then once both pieces had their first coat, we did let them dry in the same method, like hanging in the cup, and we let them dry for 30 minutes. So now it is 30 minutes later, and we are painting the second coat of the conductive paint on the exact same areas that we painted it on the first time. It's just going to be the second coat over the whole top of the gemstone. And then we're going to let it dingle dangle in the cup and dry. And now for the second coat of conductive paint on the flower, exact same area, dipping it the exact same way, just getting that second coat. And then we let them dry overnight. Okay, so it is the next day, and so here's the little rosebud. This is what it's looking like with 2 coats of conductive paint completely dry. We let these dry overnight, so I feel like they're pretty good at this point. And then here is the fluorite gemstone that we also did. So our setup right now is 2 plastic-like plates. I have no idea. It just suggested to have something with walls, like put it in a tray. So that's what we've done. And we've also got our cup that goes up to 1,000 milliliters. And then we've also got this, which is called a bus bar.
If it's metal, I think it's referred to as a bus bar.
Oh, okay. Well, then this is a piece of wood. All right, so we're actually going to start electroforming. Holy crap. So we have our copper wire, and we have like 2 different sizes in here. The smaller size we're going to use to like attach the little pendants to the bar that goes across the top, and then these are the copper wire that's going to like go inside. So for the copper coil, we are supposed to do a 2-to-1 anode to cathode. So the cathode is the pendant, so the anode is this, the copper coil. You kind of have to measure like the surface area that you're going to be covering with copper to kind of figure out how much copper wire, like copper coil, you will need inside of the cup. So I think what we're going to do is use this entire coil. So it's around 44 inches long. So I'm going to stick it in, which is pretty satisfying. And then we're just going to bend one end over the top, outside of the lip. What do you think of that?
That looks great.
Yeah?
All right, so here is our electroforming solution. I got this in a kit and it's exactly 1,000 milliliters. So I think we're basically going to be filling this thing up.
All right, so since we're doing 2 pieces, I wanted to see if we could do both at once. So here is our contraption. We have the wood rod that's going to go across the top, and then I've connected both the pendants with copper wire. And I think this is 26 gauge, right? So we've connected those with that wire, and then they also connect in the middle and then across as well. So they kind of both are connected to make sure the current can like pass through both pieces. I hope this works. We kind of just threw this together. I hope it works though.
All right, so here is our power supply. It looks ancient, but I hope it works. Okay, so now we're going to submerge our pieces, and the flour is doing the thing I really didn't want it to do. So I was hoping this wasn't going to happen, but the rosebud is just too light. So I have this piece of glass that's tied to nylon thread. It said specifically to use this to weigh things down because it is not conductive. So I guess I'm just going to tie this to the rosebud from the jump ring. Alright, so this is what it's looking like with a piece of glass tied to the rosebud. Everyone pray that this works. We can attach the red clip to the copper wire. And then the black wire to the wire clip to the top of the cathode suspension wire. Alright, are we ready to turn this thing on?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it on and everything is going to be fine.
Yeah.
We're going to turn it to the correct ampage that we've calculated for the surface area that is going to be covered in copper. I'm going to turn it up to 0.4. So now it just says to wait and monitor. This process can take several hours. It says anywhere between 4 and 24 plus.
Okay, so yes, this is a time lapse, but this flour got electroformed so freaking fast. Like, I was kind of shocked. Like, I didn't want to walk away from it because it was working so quickly. And then the gemstone wasn't doing much until like a few hours in. But once it started, it did start to like lighten up, but it was still pretty slow. I couldn't believe how fast the flour went though. So it has been several hours, probably around 4 or 5 hours, and I kind of want to check on things. So I don't want things to burn. I saw that you could burn things like if you have the, ampage too high or anything like that. And it does look like the rosebud is pretty well plated. I just want to make sure that it has like enough copper build up around it to make it like strong. Also, the gemstone is doing something weird, so I'm going to turn this off and then we're going to remove these. All right, here we go. This is how they're looking. Oh my god, look at that rosebud. Oh my god. So we literally have two opposite sort of like outcomes. I was reading, so the gemstone does have one of the outcomes that I was hoping not to get, but it's not a like mega huge deal. There's a lot of like copper buildup on the wire, like the 26 gauge wire that the gemstone is connected to. All right, so I think what I am going to do is take the rosebud out because I like how it looks. I think it looks really cool, and I'm just really afraid of like burning it because I also think one of the like troubleshooting tips when you get salmon like matte finishes like this on the gemstone is that maybe your ampage is too low, and so I don't want to turn the ampage up and then burn this. I'm going to take this out, and then we might leave this guy in and turn up the ampage and kind of like troubleshoot and see what we can do about this guy. I'm going to rinse the rosebud off in some distilled water. The copper wire that is kind of like wrapped around, the jump ring is very like electroformed. It's got like this really, really cool bright, shiny, electroformed, like coppery finish, a lot like the rosebud has. So I'm just wondering why the gemstone doesn't have the same finish. All right, so we've got our rosebud here. I'm going to free it from the nylon. I know that like this part here isn't the cutest thing in the world, but keep in mind, first timer around here, okay? I absolutely, I freaking love, this is a rosebud, like a real rosebud. I love it so much. So we're gonna just let that kind of rinse off in there. Wow, so it, wow, I can't get over it. This was a rosebud. All right, so bad news, everyone. I was going to like try to figure this out, and I was trying to like, you know, wiggle this kind of coiled bit of copper wire off up here. I was trying to like break that off, and you might see that there is kind of a crack right here, and that is the glue, I believe. So you'll see how kind of wiggly and loose that is. This like jumbled copper wire up here on the jump ring, it's really on there, and that's why that kind of came off. I mean, maybe I should have scuffed up the area up here where the glue was supposed to attach the jump ring, but you know, I'm just not sure. I think I messed up, you guys. I think I messed this one up. I'm like really sad about it, but also I keep looking over at the rosebud, and there's a freaking ghost in here. I just want to cry at how beautiful it is. So honestly, I still like am so happy with how everything turned out. Why it's basically off. The whole like glue bit is off. I think I have to take this jump ring off. Oh man, it's really sad. Look at this, you guys. I can't. I literally can't with this. We took a real dried rosebud and turned it into a gorgeous coppery necklace. I literally, okay, this was I'm gonna say it, a journey for me. It's like, I hated this as much as I loved it. You know, doing a new art for the very first time is always going to be difficult. Well, it is for me. It's always like kind of stressful, especially because every time I'm doing it for a video for you guys. So I'm always afraid of like epically failing. And, you know, with an electrical current, I just didn't know what could happen. Maybe things could have blown up. Maybe that's not even a possibility. I had no idea. Honestly, we did kind of epically fail on the gemstone. Kind of sad about it, but like all of my hopes and my dreams were in the rosebud, and the rosebud turned out so beautiful. So here are some close-up shots, some really pretty shots of the rosebud coppery necklace. You know, what's cool too is that you don't have to make jewelry with this. Like you could I'm honestly thinking about I don't want to tell you because I feel like it could be really cool and I want to turn it into a video, but you're probably going to see more electroformed flowers, and it's not going to be jewelry. I'll just leave you with that, and like the vision that I have for it is magical. Now that I know the process, it really isn't that bad. Like it isn't bad at all. I think I don't know, I was really stressed out for this one. So I hope that this video didn't like completely intimidate you into not wanting to try this. And don't worry, we will return to electroforming gemstones. I think what I really need to do is like scuff up the top so that the glue has something to like really hold on to. You will see the fluorite again. I promise you that. And I feel like some of you might ask, will the flower eventually just like rot in there? I don't know. I don't think so, because you're supposed to dry any like organic flower or leaf before you electroform it, and then you're supposed to seal it a couple of times. I don't think there's any chance it's gonna rot because there's no like moisture in there. But if for some reason it collapses and, you know, rots or something, I will update you guys. Follow me on Instagram, because that's probably, follow me on Instagram. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It is at Artsymadwoman. I love you guys to absolute death, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.